In this video, I'm going to show you how to prepare, measure and make fitting deductions so you'll be all set for ordering shutters. Preparation. The preparation is an important part to ensuring your shutters fit neatly and easily. So take your time, know where you're going to fit the shutters so that you can measure in the appropriate place. All your measuring should be done at the front edge of where the shutter is going in case the recess is angled or tapered slightly. You also need to look out for protruding objects like plastic trim, air vents, alarm points or handles. If you have a deep enough recess, you can simply fit the shutters in front of any protrusion. If you have a shallow recess, here are some options. Trim. With really wide trim, you can fit your shutters inside. If it's too thick, fit the shutters in front of the trim, and if it's fairly thin, you could incorporate it into the shadow gap. Sometimes this means making the shadow cap slightly larger, and you may need to position the shadow tape forward slightly so it covers the trim. Air vents. If you have air vents or alarm points with a deep recess, just bring the shutter frame forward, allowing enough space to get your fingers in and open the vent. With a shallow recess, you could remove the vent or request a cutout in the top frame. This option would be done on the trade order form. Handles. Handles will normally protrude 35 to 40 mm from the face of your window. With a deep recess, you can choose to fit the shutter frame just in front of your handles. To create more space and to limit the gap behind the shutter frame and the window, you could replace the handles with a low profile design. These will typically only protrude 10 to 15 mm. They're easy to replace, and we do have a video showing you how. If you have straight vertical handles and you're using T-posts, the handle will sit behind the side style of the shutter, so the louvers will tilt just to the side of the handle. So then you can install the shutter closer to the window. If you have any other kind of protrusion, dado rails, tiles, skirting board, upstands, inward opening windows, phone or TV sockets, for example, then you may need some extra help and advice. So take a look in the info hub in our trade section or book on a call with me. Before you start, I recommend downloading our measuring guide. It will list the following steps, shutter limitations and louver protrusions for easy reference. Draw the layout of the window, include any mullions and rails. Shutters are ordered in millimetres, so we suggest measuring in millimetres. First, check your handle protrusion so that you know where to take the width and height measurements from. I'm measuring from the opening part of the window to the front of the handles, and also the window recess depth in case I choose to fit low profile handles. Measure at the front of where your frame is going to fit. Measure the width first at the bottom, middle and then top. Write the sizes down at the right hand side of your drawing and then label them as width. Do the same with the height, measuring on the left, centre and right side of the window. If you have a T-post, measure the height at these points too. And again, all in front of where your frames are going to fit. Measure the diagonal so that you know how square the window is. This is easiest done with a laser measure, but it's more important to do if you don't have spirit levels. Measure from the left to the centre of any mullions. If the centre point is not clear on the mullion, measure and mark the centre. Use a square and come out at right angles and then measure the width, the right distance away from the window. If you have a second or third T-post, keep the tape measure in the same place and continue your measurements so that you all go from the left. If you're ordering a middle rail or splitting the hidden tilt mechanism on your shutter, measure from the windowsill up to the centre of where you'd like the rail or split. The final position of the rail or split can vary as much as half a louver. This depends on the frame height, louver size and position you choose, so the measurement is only a guide. Check the top, bottom and each side of the window for level, and then highlight on your drawing if the window is out of level and by how much. This will help you work out any deductions. Finally, it's a good idea to get somebody to check your measuring or measure the window twice to avoid errors. Once you have all your recess sizes, it's time to deduct your fitting clearance to ensure the shutter frame fits in your recess. When you place your order, the sizes you enter need to be the exact frame size you require, so the outer dimensions of the shutter frame. The easiest and neatest way to install shutters is to use a shadow gap. This way you get to show off the shutters within the recess and avoid using messy filler, and you'll have plenty of room to adjust your shutters to ensure they fit perfectly. The shadow gap should be about 6mm, so all you need to do is deduct 12mm from the smallest width and height sizes you took. If you're using T-posts, you need to remember to deduct 6mm from all the T-post sizes, and if you're ordering rails or split tilts, deduct 6mm from these sizes too. If your window's out of square and the sill drops or the sides are out of level, here are some tips. If the window's out of level but the diagonal sizes you took are within 5mm of each other, you should be fine to deduct the standard 12mm. If just one side runs out of level, I'd suggest deducting 11mm from the width and 13mm from the height. This will help balance up the shadow gap. If the bottom or top runs out of level, I'd suggest deducting 11 from the height and 13mm from the width. Again, this will help balance up the shadow gap. If the left side runs out of level at the bottom, you need to adjust the T-post deductions to suit. So if it runs out by 3mm, deduct 9mm from your T-post. So you're adding an extra 3 onto the 6. Unfortunately, it's normal for windows to be out of square and not level. So having bigger shadow gaps will help disguise this more. Measuring tips. If you can use a laser measure, they're more accurate for getting into the corners. Check the angle of the recess using something square, and recheck your sizes in centimetres and inches. So now you've designed your shutters, you know how to measure your window, the next step is to place your order.